irrespective of political affiliation. That has always been the objective of the Revolutionary Party ZANU-PF. And we started serious empowerment when we embarked on the land redistribution exercise. Unfortunately, the MDC, which had been formed to oppose, decided to disempower its supporters. So a lot of MDC supporters were told not to participate in the land redistribution program. But as we go forward, our policy is to empower all people irrespective of religion or political affiliation. But we can only empower those who are willing to be empowered. Those who feel that the United States or Europe can empower them better, they are free to take that route. And they will also want to compare who has been empowered more by the British, the former colonialists, and by the West. But our responsibility, we are going to empower everybody. So there is not going to be a facet of our life, socio-economic, which will be off the radar of our policy to empower our people. And the document that Comrade Lima presented is touching just about everybody, everything, every sector. And as we unfold it, we are open to any new ideas, whether you think there are still gaps that need to be filled. We want to make that very clear. It's not a closed and shut case. As we go, as new circumstances reveal themselves, we are there going to be adapting with a view to making sure that this economy, at the end of the day, becomes 90% or so locally owned, like any other country. That is a process we are starting. Currently, I don't know if any study has been done to tell us what percentage of ownership of our economy, of our assets, but we are intending to make this economy like any other economy of Germany, of Japan, which, as we know, is about 90% owned by locals. That is the intention. I need also to add here. He mentioned about the 49%. We abandoned it for precisely for this reason. It was not well thought to say an investor can bring 100 million and an individual overnight claims 51% of it. But as the document will explain, we are going to empower communities, not individuals. We cannot just get an individual who says, I am already 51% in an investment which is coming to a country without paying a cent. If you are paying something, no problem, but without paying a cent. So that, I think, is what we need to get ourselves clearly understood. But the thrust and the process is going to be that is that we are going gradually, progressively, step by step, as His Excellency the President keeps telling us, inch by inch, going methodically to empower our people. And this, like I said, we are talking about communities, we are also talking about employees in their various employments in the corporate private sector. So I thought I should just underscore that point. But as he says, we are going to unpack this document. It was a 19-page document, but quite voluminous. He reduced it to 19 pages for presentation, but it was quite a voluminous document. We are going to unpack it and liaise with the office of the Chief Secretary so that we make it clear which ministry must do what. In which sector? If we are talking about mines, we'll set out what empowerment tools must be implemented in the mining sector. For instance, something that is not mentioned, a very key issue. Those of you who are economists or follow stories of economists, we wanted to know the procurement bill of government. Government, as you know, is the biggest procurer. When you consider and compare itself to the private corporate sector, is the biggest single procurer. Now we want to know who is supplying to government and come up with the policies that empower locals so that they are able to be empowered by their own government through supplying procurement contracts. Where possible, we want to know who is supplying to government and build on that to empower people in an honest, transparent manner. If we develop a policy to empower people through procurement, it has to be on the basis that it's transparent, it's competitive in terms of price, it's competitive in terms of quality. That is where we want to go. Finally, before I give you an opportunity to ask questions, I thought I should say something about our Ghana, e-Ghana. I trust that you enjoyed yourselves. Is the director has been informing us. I tried my best, I stayed the course. I demonstrated some stamina by being there right from beginning to the end. But I must say, I enjoyed myself. I truly enjoyed myself. But I must observe that I was extremely surprised with the discipline of the artists. We had 31 artists who supported the show. Some were in the supporting and the main gala. And everything went like clockwork. To my great surprise, the discipline was most amazing. And the quality of performance was also very high. And I want to take this opportunity. I'll find another occasion to thank them directly. I want to take this opportunity to thank all those artists who supported this e-Ghana. And I hope that it's not their first time to support future activities of that kind. I'm looking forward to a long-lasting, fruitful working relationship with our artists. It should also provide us an occasion for talent scouting, talent development, talent discovery. And so this is something that hopefully we should be able to throw up again in the future, maybe in the near future. The artists were, as you must confirm, were drawn from every corner of the country. And there was diversity of music, catering for all needs, for all generations, from the young to the old. And also there was quite a different cultural background. Let me on e-Ghana say, we called it, we dubbed it, Zim Oneness e-Ghana. Why Zim Oneness? We want to emphasize, and we'll do this again and again. There is no country which can prosper without unity, without a oneness. The president preaches productivity, production, growth of the economy. All those things will not come to pass if there is no unity in the country. So we are preaching a oneness to all Zimbabweans, wherever they are. Whether you are in Australia, you are in New Zealand, People's Republic of China, in India, in Russia, in Dubai, Europe, United States, Canada, in Zimbabwe, in SADC, we are appealing to you to know that Zimbabwe is your home. Let's be like other nationalities who, wherever they are, they put their nation number one first. And they go all out to support their country. So we want to thank all those in the diaspora who took time to listen to this Igala to watch it. We applaud you for taking time to watch it. Above all, we applaud you for sending remittances to your relatives here back home. That is valuable foreign currency which the country needs for its survival. So we thank you in every respect. And we want to build bridges to you. We want to have a relationship with you. And we'll find ways on how we can establish that relationship between ourselves here at home and those who are in the diaspora. I thank